Hello, everyone. What I got for you today is a healthy dose of malicious compliance. What happens when a narcissist CEO tells one of their most productive staff that they're useless? Well, let's find out. Today's story was from Reddit user Yes, I'm Still an Atheist. IT director not being helpful? Time for malicious compliance. Settle in for a form of malicious compliance for quote unquote not being helpful. This is long, but I promise to make it worth your while. I'm an IT director, male, aged 51. So I'm the only IT person in a nonprofit with 45 plus employees. The place I work is a toxic nightmare only because of the CEO. Everyone else is awesome. I didn't want to leave my job and my coworkers, but I was left with no choice. I was quiet quitting for several weeks while I interviewed for new positions. I took home all personal items from my office. The job market for an IT person of my caliber is like Candyland right now. I quickly found a new position, and the day they officially welcomed me to the new company, I submitted my 2 weeks' notice. Granted, I had been considering giving no notice and living with a fire and brimstone approach. But I read a lot of articles about resignation letters and avoiding any negativity, so I backed off and just gave a boilerplate 2 weeks' notice resignation letter. Nothing positive, nothing negative. A coworker who wears several hats was tapped to be the interim director. I met with that person and the chief operating officer, or COO, to develop a transition plan to avoid as much chaos as possible. They mostly work in social media and marketing, but during the pandemic, I had trained them to be an emergency IT replacement in case anything happened to me. Though they will be okay for a few weeks, they simply do not have the experience to do all of the things I do. Network administration, systems administration, help desk, web development, app development, etc. I happen to be a unicorn of sorts, an IT generalist that has done it all. We met with the CEO in a cramped office to review the transition plan. We immediately stated that the interim IT director would not be able to do their old job while they are running IT. The CEO is a complete narcissist and deeply arrogant, while also being completely incompetent and lacking in the most basic IT skills. She immediately pushed back on the plan as basically this was not her idea. She rejects everyone else's ideas 100% of the time. I tried to speak up and advocate for the COO and the interim IT director as I've been doing the job for more than 5 years, so I know the reality. There's no way they could possibly do IT and the role job. She literally wouldn't let me finish a sentence. She wanted to see a checklist of my job duties. There are literally hundreds of pages of documentation for my role, which is not really possible to summarize into a checklist. Everyone in the meeting had been emailed a disaster recovery business continuity document that I wrote for my role. We referred her to the document that everyone else was looking at. She complained that it hadn't been printed out for her. Milady, everyone else in the meeting had their laptops open with the document. I simply turned my laptop around and gently pushed it towards her. She flew off the handle. She wanted a printed copy. Also, she said, "You are not being helpful." I was literally in the meeting to be helpful. Ah, god dang, talk about a toxic boss. I mean, how did she even get up there? There are hyperlinks galore in this document, so a printed copy would be useless. But I tried to oblige by taking my laptop back and started to print it. Before I could finish, she was standing next to my chair and was saying, "Are you going to move?" What is it with this woman? She needs to take a chill pill. I guess she was trying to get past me to go to the printer. I said, "I think what you meant was to say, 'Excuse me,' as I scooted my chair forward. Not being helpful? You have no idea what that looks like from your IT guy." I said, "Okay, I'm done," and went back to my office, wrote a new resignation letter, went right back to the meeting and handed it in. OP says, "Instead of leaving in 2 weeks, I will be leaving in 1 week." The CEO's jaw dropped to the floor. She was speechless. She just sputtered as I closed the door behind me. Yes, that's what you get. I feel bad for his coworkers though. They already begged me to go back to 2 weeks' notice out of courtesy and professionalism. I just told them that courtesy and professionalism is a two-way street, and they hadn't earned it. I'm going to barely work for this last week instead of tying up loose ends. I'll just not quite get around to finishing stuff while I watch them scramble. Good luck installing new software or updates on all of the computers that require an administrative password. Good luck handling the media coordinator who regularly creates network storms with his antiquated studio equipment. Good luck onboarding new staff with her accounts, passwords, and equipment needs. Good luck helping the CEO use her smartphone every day. Wait, she needs help using her smartphone? How old is this woman? And helping her search her emails in her inbox for over 25,000 unread messages. Good luck with the security systems that I installed and maintained for 3 years. Good luck maintaining 10 websites, 7 of which I personally developed and maintained. I will just sit back and watch the show. Malicious compliance is now the main course in a delicious meal seasoned with the tears of a bitter, incompetent CEO. Edit. Wow, I thought I might get a few upvotes, but damn. Thank you, everyone. Let's keep it rolling. Here's a tasty preview of what's to come. I'm now one of the 4 people resigning in August, and it's only the first week. The dam is bursting. Edit number 2. There are many comments where people said I should have quit immediately instead of changing it to 1 week. Where's the fun in that? I get a front row seat to the best show on earth. Also, I reserved my power. If I get treated with disrespect again, I'll shorten it to 3 days. Again and 1 day. Again and bye. Rarely experience natural consequences. This will be my masterclass in that. Edit number 3. Though this may not fit the strict definition of malicious compliance, I hope you are entertained regardless. Further, malicious compliance usually happens in top-down organizations with a healthy dose of micromanagement, which is absolutely my situation. If you are still not convinced, I promise updates about my passive-aggressive acts of malicious compliance throughout my final week. Edit number 4. Yep, there are really people like us, multiple IT disciplines. This is not fiction. Some of them have already added comments. I've been in tech since 1995, and I learned whatever I could to make a living. That's not a flex, it's just what I did to survive. Generally, I feel bad to those that will be receiving the oncoming shitstorm. But then again, I think the CEO has been doing this with impunity, and it's been a long time coming. Just has to happen at some point, I suppose. About 2.5 weeks later, OP posts an update. During that 1 week, I took it easy. Outstanding tickets, I just closed and archived them all. Instead of putting extra work into a nice clean installation of video conferencing equipment, I left the monitor sitting on a credenza with the camera partially blocking the view. I finished installing a new printer, but I gave only minor instructions on how to use it. Stuff I had hung on my office wall I just ripped down and left exposed drywall. The request for MSP, Managed Service Provider, recommendations, I simply said, I really have no recommendations. I feel that I was as helpful as possible to my counterpart who assumed my responsibilities on my departure. They had endured the same abuse, and I was leaving them to the lions. So I felt it would be terribly uncool if I completely left them in the lurch. I enjoyed the week off after that before starting my new job. During that week, I did as much as I could to help other people to find new work, including my interim counterpart. As of my last count, there are now 5 people actively interviewing for new jobs, and at least 2 are extremely close to finding new work. My line of sight into how things are going is somewhat limited, but here are some of the details. A marketing person in a supervisory role who had never been capable of doing anything that their staff could do was forced to learn how to do those things, like handling the contact database, using email marketing templates, targeting audiences, etc. Let me tell you that this is not the kind of guy who likes that kind of thing. Lots of stomping around like a toddler. To avoid doing extra work, they brown-nosed the CEO and got permission for their high school kid to come and help for 2 weeks before going back to school. Seriously, a high school student who had to get up to speed on this stuff and run advanced marketing campaigns so their dad could continue avoiding work to doom scroll through Twitter all day for 2 weeks. This is a direct result of the chain of events from my departure. Wow, this high school kid is gonna get lots of experience early on. If this was me, I'm gonna take advantage of this. Anyways, next up, the media director, responsible for acts of idiocy like plugging the network into itself and causing network storms, is pushing to replace the ISP, which is Internet Service Provider. He waited 1 day to push this agenda, which I had soundly rejected multiple times over the years. If they get a new ISP, the current one would bail. And they are the network MSP as well to a certain extent. They own all of the network switches, the firewall, and the Wi-Fi infrastructure. I'm eagerly awaiting the result of this. He's another favorite of the CEO, so he may actually get his way. The CEO had said behind my back that maybe instead of hiring for my role, they just need to simplify things. So that could actually happen, and they have no idea what kind of immediate chaos that would cause. I can picture them terminating the contract with the MSP and seeing the MSP come into the building to grab all of the network hardware. That's how dumb and arrogant they are. The main informational email account is getting hammered with spam because I had been playing the whack-a-mole game with blocking malicious IPs every day. This is spam generated from Customer Relationship Management or CRM, so via SMTP Relay. It's a service hosted by the CRM provider who has failed to prioritize the implementation of modern anti-spam features like honeypots. I'm pretty sure this makes that email account 95% spam content. I got a text about this and I basically said there's nothing they can do. Which is true, as they don't know how to blocklist IPs. I'm still on their mailing lists, and it's been like crickets for 2 weeks. Seriously, they had been producing as many as 30 emails per week, and I haven't seen one at all since I left. Meanwhile, I started my new job, and day one was a breath of fresh air. They are a real business with actual performance metrics, evaluations, and highly modern and advanced systems. They're taking me out to lunch today, which is day 2. My new supervisor and I have so much in common, we had to catch ourselves several times to stop talking and get back to the usual orientation stuff. Couldn't be happier. I used to work in IT myself. The thing is, right, when you do your job well, nobody notices because essentially things just run smoothly. And it's only when something goes wrong that you get attention. I hope the CEO learned something from all of this. And as for OP, good on you. Anyways, that's gonna be it for today's effed up compliance. Once again, if you have your own story, you can send it at iveeffedup@gmail.com. Links to the posts are down in the description below. As usual, remember to like, subscribe, and hit that bell button. And I'll see you all in the next one. Bye bye!